guys, I'm just getting myself sorted out and set up here. Good afternoon and welcome. I suppose it's evening now, 7:05 in the evening. We're up to the 5th round of the ESL Go4LoL Cup number 86. This is, of course, a monthly qualifier. And up to the 5th round, we've had a whole bunch of teams already eliminated and already kicked out of the tournament. You're here with Quickshot. I am South African, and I'm trying to get more involved in the casting scene. And kindly, ESL have allowed me to stream some of the games and stream some of the tournaments, and I've met some fantastic teams. Most notably, I love brownies. There we go. MybrowniesLoL. Complete brain fart. 5 hours of live streaming, non-stop talking. It becomes hard to keep finding the words. So anyways, we're going to be following the game now with MybrowniesLoL going up against UV Gaming. This is, of course, once again, knockout. MybrowniesLoL seeded around 207th, facing off against UV Gaming, who I believe is seeded 16th or 17th. We'll double check that as soon as we get to the 3-minute countdown timer. For now, though, we're already into the game. So let's have a look at the minute. Picks and bans are going on. UV Gaming is on the left-hand side, the blue team, and they are facing off against the purple team of MybrowniesLoL. Urgot, Morgana, Karthus being banned out from the higher seeded team, and Ari Shen Lee Sin being banned out from Brownies. So some slight changes. I think it's definitely apparent that UV Gaming have definitely stopped by and watched a little bit of the previous game. Noticed just how strong that Urgot was, just how much damage Urgot was being, how much damage he was putting out. And of course, he was wearing that totally awesome crab walking robot skin. So first pick was Salo on Janna, insta-lock Janna, not out of the ordinary. For Mr. Shaka the One, that comment in chat is the #1 question I hear every time I tell people I'm South African. Every single time I introduce myself, that's the first one I say. I don't want to say it on stream. Read it in the chat on the right-hand side, guys. It's worth a bit of a giggle. So we've got a Grave Soraka lock-in on the bottom lane. That's probably going to play quite passively. Soraka Urgot is known as quite an aggressive lane because, of course, the corrosive charge followed up by the acid hunters means Urgot can keep putting some pressure down, keep hitting from really, really far range. Grave Soraka, on the other hand, does tend to play a little bit more safely, allowing Graves to pick up some points, pick up some farm, creep score, and ideally working towards some attack damage. Once he picks up his BF sword or any of the other damage items, he can then pretty much blow up anybody in the bottom lane. And I think this is a repeat of earlier. We've got a Kog'Maw Janna facing off against a Grave Soraka. Well, it was Grave Taric earlier. So Kog'Maw Janna, of course, being a very, very powerful lane. The fact that Kog'Maw, with his Bioarcane Barrage, deals percentage magic damage, combined with the attack damage buff of Janna, it completely decimates people without any items. They just need a couple of levels. Janna needs to put just put a few points into that Eye of the Storm. And that, of course, is going to really give them a strong advantage in the lane. Vladimir being locked in by I Love Chio. UV Gaming showing either their mid or their top lane. Nowadays, Vlad tends to be playing top lane. He's not considered a mid lane anymore, but he can easily go into the mid lane. His Sanguine Pool makes it nearly impossible to gank him if used correctly. If they do the right timing on this W, on that used correctly item, then ability, then it's pretty difficult to lock him down. We have an Alistair and Rise being locked in. And Rise, of course, doing really, really well in some of the previous matches. Not able to win the game for the previous team. And sorry about this, active game was not found, guys. And it's just a bug in the LoL client since the most recent patch. It's just been full of bugs and full absolute pain in the butt to deal with. So Alistair could go jungle. Actually, he's going to be jungle. If you've got a Soraka in the game, my money's on Alistair in the jungle, Soraka Graves bot lane, and Rise in the mid. And that means now a very, very smart move by UV Gaming. Nightlight sitting on Udia, the man, bear, pig, total machine, elephant, giraffe. No idea what animal he wants to become. Can access all animals of the animal kingdom. He's busy being locked in. And that means Udia could go jungle, he could go top lane, but what means, or what we need to pay attention to here is, of course, the last 10 seconds. Kennen is going to get locked in. UV Gaming don't have the option to bait. They don't have the option to pick Udia and go, is Udia top, is Udia jungle? It's pretty obvious that Udia is going to be in the jungle now. The only difficulty is whether or not Kennen or Vlad are going to go middle or top. It is going to be double AP, so it's going to be very interesting to see who picks which lane, because Rise versus Kennen, Rise can win out that lane after a few levels. I think early game Kennen wins it, but once Rise manages to get his Tear of the Goddess, manages to work towards his Banshee's Veil, I think Rise ends up winning that lane against Kennen. The little electric hamster Kennen is quite possibly my favorite champion in the game as well. So I have a lot of love for that little hamster boy. And Pidgey God, I'm not 100% sure if there's a D in there. If it was a D, it'd be Pidgey, Pidgeotto, Pidgeot from Pokemon. I've already had a few Pokemon references today. I may as well throw just a couple more out there. Deciding between Needly, opting not to go Needly, maybe going for a Yorick. Yorick can be very good as well. Huge sustain. I mean, he's got what? It's Omen of Pestilence, Omen of War, and Omen of Famine. But I have no idea which one is which, and I know I should be able to figure it out. But his E-spell, one of those ghouls, I've got to remember what Xenon Stoic called him. It was like scary, hungry, and healthy, or something along those lines. I'll have to Google how he what he called the names. What we're going to see now, though, is Yorick probably going top lane. I would assume against a Vladimir, I think. But Vlad could do well against both lanes. So it's going to be up to these champions, up to the players. It's going to be deciding what they want to do and deciding where they want to put these guys. So before we get into the game, this is, of course, MybrowniesLoL facing off against UV Gaming. So this is the match. MybrowniesLoL, both teams are European. Let's quickly open up the rosters. I can't see the players' nationality, sadly. But you can see that UV Gaming, they've played and competed in several of the previous cups. Quite a bit of experience to their name. MyBrownies as well. I only played in 2 cups previously, so doing very well thus far. Let's have a look at the ranking or the match on the ladder. MyBrownies seeded 209th out of 389. Managed to face off against a couple of different opponents, working their way up, and already defeated a team seeded 48th. And just recently, Ribena was seeded 17th. They took them out as well. So that was their tree up. UV Gaming, on the other hand, had a bye in the first round, ranked 16th. So this is 1 seed higher than the previous team. Taking a look at the rest of the matches, they've taken out DV8, FLGA, Wild, and now they're facing off against MybrowniesLoL. So can MybrowniesLoL prove that seeding isn't really elevated, doesn't really give you an idea of what's happening? International sides, EU teams, people and players from all sorts of countries. Just going to keep looking down a little bit down the ladder. ESC still in the game. TCM still fighting it out as well. iPlay will probably have won their game. Keeping a close eye on the ladders. Or some of these games haven't updated. Let me just hit F5. See if we can have a quick look through this. Someone in Chatland, throw up the ladder link for me, if you can. Just in case anybody else wants to spend some time looking through the ladder, checking out how things go, and seeing just how far some teams have gone, and things like that. 190 viewers, thank you guys for sticking by. I'm going to jump back to the game screen. Let's get that set up there. Active game was not found. That's a little bit annoying. 1.5 minutes remaining. So taking a look at the summoner spells really quickly. We've got double heal from Cogmore and Vladimir for UV Gaming. Single heal sitting in Graves' hands at the moment. Soraka has opted to take exhaust this time around. Previous game, they did not have an exhaust. Opted to go for CV. Or at least the enemy team did opt to go for CV. No, exhaust sitting on Janna at the moment as well. So if we can get some good team fights going, if Yorick is able to put his ultimate, that clone, onto Graves, Graves will be able to, the clone of Graves will be able to deal huge damage once they're able to actually pick up some items and keep the pressure up. If he times his ultimate right, he can also throw it onto the Rise. Rise will then be able to come back from the grave, take control of that ghost and really put some additional damage down to the enemy team. In terms of laning, I think the laning phase is going to go in favor of UV Gaming. And it's quite an interesting setup at the minute because Cogmore scales fantastically well into the late game. Graves doesn't scale quite as well. Rise scales extremely well into the late game. Kennen not necessarily as well. Yorick and Vlad, they both scale very well, but the utility from Vlad by having that AoE bonus from Hemoplague, increasing all of the damage that his entire team deals. You combine Hemoplague with Slicing Maelstrom from Kennen, And then, of course, the Bioarcane Barrage, the long-range attacks from Kog'Maw. And you've got a huge, huge, huge damage potential. The nice thing about that is as well, both Kennen and Vladimir can mitigate damage by using their Lightning Rush, moving around in and out of the battle. And of course, Vladimir can use his Sanguine Pool to drop beneath the entire enemy team, avoiding any and all damage from any sources that will try to target him. Sorry about the white screen, guys. I'm not trying to blind you. It is simply the small bugs, small errors with the League of Legends client at the minute. You'll see it does load up the game eventually. And we're going to be having a look as the loading screen is up. Skin War first. And you know what? I don't even care who else has skins or what other skins are being worn. Arctic Warfare skin on Kennen is just gorgeous. He runs around with those giant kunai, throws them. He's an electric hamster. I mean, you can't top that. He's an absolute boss. So having a lot of fun here at the minute. Going to be looking forward to this game. Going to be looking forward to how it pans out. Seeded 16th, facing off against a seeded 200. But they've already toppled a seeded 17th tournament, MybrowniesLoL. Can they do it again? If you are on chat, if you're on Twitch, let's have some predictions. Just based on champions, where do you think the money is lying? Who is going to win this game? Just looking at the champions, just looking at the loading screen, I think if my Brownies can get an early advantage, my money is on Brownies before 30 minutes, all right? If the game goes beyond 30 minutes, I think UV Gaming can take it. And I'm just basing it on champions, just basing on what I think and what I know about the champions. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm totally wrong, but that's where my money lies, and we'll just have to see how this goes. I would love it if the Brownies could win. I'm a bit of a MybrowniesLoL fanboy at the moment. They've been really, really fantastic. They've been very, very friendly. And they've also helped me out, allowing me to cast their games. So thanks a lot, guys. And thanks to every team, actually. If anybody else is in chat and I have streamed your games and I've chatted to you on IRC or I've added you in the game client, thank you so much for the support. You really don't know just how much it's helping me. And if you really want to stick around, if you'd like to see my casting career go, make sure you jump over to Facebook. Facebook.com/quickshop. That's QU1KSH0T. I'm going to be getting more and more involved with shoutcasting and more involved in competitive esports. And you guys are my first, let's call it fans. I don't know if that's the right name, but you guys are my first followers, fans, supporters. Thank you so much for the love. It is totally awesome. So this is the 5th round of the Go4LoL. I'm going to have to just keep adding a couple of the comments here at the moment. 5th round of Go4LoL. On the left-hand side, wearing the blue shorts, we have UV Gaming. They are seeded 16th in this Go4LoL tournament. And going to have to see whether or not they can stomp the MybrowniesLoL, who are on a bit of a rampage. They're wearing the purple shorts, and they just managed to prove in the previous match that Brownies are superior to Fruit Juice. So congratulations to the Brownies there. They're really, really pulling out a good showing, really, really good game. And they've been playing the game by the numbers. I followed 2 of the champions thus far, or 2 of their matches thus far. And the thing that's absolutely fantastic about their game is, of course, the fact that they play everything by the numbers. They make sure that they push the lanes. They make sure they take map objectives. And that's the key to it, guys. Make sure you follow this and keep an eye on it. And we'll have to see if they can keep it up against UV Gaming, because they are, of course, the stronger side, or at least the stronger ranked side in this match. So Alistair starting off with the red buff. A little bit unusual. You don't tend to see that. At least I don't tend to see that. He's waiting. There's the smite. One more little uppercut, and that takes him out. Udia in the jungle for UV. He's picked up the blue buff. He's coming in. You can see it's Phoenix stance, Udia. One into Phoenix, one into Turtle. He was moving to try and steal the red buff, but notice Alistair's already got it. Not going to be able to do so. Alistair having picked up Pulverize and Headbutt. He's got red buff. And they're playing. This is tentative. This is a little bit of dancing, a little bit of moving around, a little bit of love back and forth. A little love tap from Vladimir onto Alistair. Does a small transfusion. Sees whether or not he is wanting to order his beef rare or not. And then moves back into lane. So we got Alistair coming back in. Headbutt first. The slow is applied. But the Sanguine Pool from Vladimir means that he can get away from it. So not bad. just put a little bit of pressure, just showing his presence. And of course, at the lower level, the champions are unable to... Vladimir is unable to replenish just as much life as maybe he'd like to. So we'll have to see how that transitions in the late game. Soraka and Janna, a little bit of an attack there. Soraka throwing out those giant bananas. With regards to the... is it zoomed in? It is technically the default viewpoint for the spectator. There is talk of increasing the zoom out function, but at the moment this is the default. I'm as far zoomed out as is possible. But the reason it feels a little bit zoomed in is the fact of my resolution. I'm busy playing, or at least I'm streaming in 1280 by 720. So if you're used to slightly higher res, that's why it's going to feel a little bit smaller. First blood picked up in the middle lane while I'm trying to talk to you guys on chat and not pay attention. It's a dead cannon, compliments of a Rise and an Alistair, so my bad, guys. I took a page out of Toby's book. Toby1 Kenobi is a shoutcaster for Dota 2, and he's particularly famous for missing first blood. Yeah, there we go. Couple of chats in couple of comments in chat mentioning that. Alistair now is low on health, and he has just picked up blue buff, so he's going to get some mana back. Phoenix stance from Udia along with the proc is going to be able to pick up the kill. So nicely done by Udia. Really, really patient play. You'll notice they had the ward in the bush, so he knew Alistair was there and he just kept waiting. Fail flash from Soraka, trying to go through the wall, managing to face plant the wall. Flash stun from Beston's Udia. That was fantastic. Summoner heal used, but not enough. Really, really good play there by Udia. Saving his flash, didn't use it earlier. Only 1 point in stun. Flashes right next to Soraka. Slaps her in the face with the bare pimp hand and absolutely locks him in place. So 2-1 is the kills at the moment. 100 gold, 200 gold in favor of UV. And my brownies are just going to have to pace themselves. They can't let this get to them. They can't let this affect the game. They need to play it safe, play it passive. At the minute, everything's looking pretty even, at least in terms of farm. Kennen, 24 CS to the 23 of Rise. Udia on top, seeing 22 CS to the 27 of Yorick. Bottom lane, 33 to 28, but there is a very big wave coming up to Graves now. So he's probably going to be able to use his buckshot. Put some AoE damage across those creeps. And pick up a few of these creep kills. That'll actually put him in the lead. So mechanically speaking, the players of my brownies are doing very, very well. And they just need to make sure they don't let this kill deficit affect them. Saying that, though, the previous game against Ribena, they also had a fairly slow start. You know, they lost the early game advantage, and it was only in the mid to late game that they actually pulled it back. So maybe that's going to be the case as well. Infuse being used aggressively by the Soraka. It can either give mana back to a teammate, or it can silence an enemy. With Janna back in lane, full frontal face plant with the buckshot from Cogmore, to Cogmore from Graves, along with a knockback. Astral Blessing used to heal him, but now Graves is in trouble. Silence from Soraka. Is she putting points into that or not? Only the 1, 2 into Astral Blessing, so that's healing. 140 hit points, but it's on a very high cooldown, close to 20 seconds. I don't know if colorblind mode is actually on. It probably should be. Let's have a quick look. Colorblind mode. Ooh, let's do a quick refresh. There we go. Now colorblind mode is on, so it's gone to blue and red. Or maybe I just turned it off, actually. I think I just turned it off. You know, I'm going to leave it blue and purple, because I like blue and purple. And while I'm playing with settings, there's a kill in the bottom lane, on the mid lane. Right, I'm paying attention to the game. I'm not going to look at chat. I'm not going to look at settings anymore. My bad, guys. 3-1, 800 gold the difference now. And that comes from those 3 kills, 200, 400, 600, plus the bonus 200 for first blood. So, mechanically, farm for farm, we're pretty much even. And it's just coming down to the kill difference where these the score has come from. But it's definitely the coordination here at the minute. Udia is working very, very well with his lanes. He's had several successful ganks, and he's a little bit more powerful. Slow from Janna onto Soraka. Now comes the exhaust. Going to be stunned from the Bestons. Phoenix is now up as well. The AoEs are going to be ticking. Udia picks up his 3rd kill. And a fed Udia is terrifying. A fed Udia can tank an entire team all day long. Decimate with damage. Keep throwing out the Tiger Stance damage as well as Bear Stance stuns. They need to be a bit careful now. They need to stop this rot. Pick up some farm, some wards. Rise using his ultimate just to clear out the waves. 32 CS to the 44 of Kennen. And Kennen's got a wave to pick up on, so Rise is even starting to fall behind on this farm. And it's a bit worrying. It's a bit worrying. I don't want to, you know, predict harsh omens yet, but they need to slow down this the number of deaths. focus on farming, focus on the early game. You'll notice now there's a significant number of wards. One by the Dragon Pit, one at the above the red buff, and of course sitting below the Tri-Bush in the top lane. The thing that is very interesting to see though is Kog'Maw has been alone in this bottom lane for quite a few minutes. We noticed a few moments ago, Kog'Maw was sitting bottom alone and pretty much taking 1v2, not actually afraid of the Graves Soraka. Just sitting, tanking up the damage, taking the infuse from Soraka, taking the auto attacks from Graves, and just continually putting pressure down. Having a look now at Yorick in the top lane. Alistair's coming in with red buff. Sanguine Pool popped very, very early. Fantastic flash there from Almupo. He realized he was in trouble. He realized that his Sanguine Pool was going to expire the very second Alistair, or the very area Alistair was standing. And he opted to pop his flash just to get to safety and prevent the death, prevent falling behind in that lane. 49 CS to the 68 of Kog'Maw. Soraka caught out, slow from Kog'Maw down. Huge damage by Arcane Barrage going down. Soraka's going to flash over the wall. Now Graves is in trouble. He's used his quick draw already. He's going to start moving back. Artillery hits quite effectively, so it's going to keep the vision. Knockup goes down as well. Collateral damage is blown out. Summoner Heal finally blown. There should be an Astral Blessing available here. Exhaust goes down onto Kog'Maw now. Got to look at these cooldowns. Astral Blessing is just used. She throws it onto Graves. Huge damage exchange and a huge number of Summoner spells blown. Exhaust, Summoner Heal, Flash, all used. Udia has now gone back. He's trying to steal this blue buff. He's got their team blue buff as well, and we've got a huge collection of champions right now. Udia applies the stun to Alistair. Alistair's moving there. Does he have Smite? Smite is not available. 3-man at the moment. Kennen has his ultimate as well, so if Kennen jumps in, that's going to be a dead Soraka. He's going to be very, very careful. On the bottom lane, Kog'Maw is trying to put some pressure onto Graves, so it's action all over the map, guys. Just going to see who's going to commit, who's going to overstep their bounds, who's going to just move out of position first. UV Gaming just applying huge early game of pressure, not letting my brownies get settled, not letting them get into this match. They finally steal the blue buff. Smite was available for Alistair, but he wasn't able to do anything with it. He wasn't able to get into range and secure the blue buff for his team. So really, really well played by UV Gaming. Extending their lead to 1,200 gold. So that's slightly ahead now. Stealing the creeps and just trying to control the map. That's the one thing that we have to point out. That's the second time they've stolen the blue buff. And that's the second time that they've had a 3-man or a 4-man invade into the enemy team. The very, very first kill onto Soraka stemmed from Udia being at the blue buff in conjunction with Janna coming up. And it's very, very difficult to deal with a team that's that aggressive and that in your jungle. And they have finally started to play some more wards internally. There's one on their own blue buff, but it's warded by UV as well. Now Alistair's coming in. Lightning Rush from Kennen. Taking those kunai, just falling back, getting to safety, and really, really well played by Kennen. Not willing to give anything up. And I have to say to QV D-Man, Lee Smith, you signed my South African flag in Seabit. You are an idol, and I'm a huge fan. I do have to throw some fanboy out there, because you're part of the reason I am actually trying to cast and get more involved. So some aggression here from Kennen. And manages to burn the flash from Rise. He rushed in with a lightning rush. I think he was considering using the slicing maelstrom, considering using the ultimate, because if he'd landed a stun, it would have allowed Janna to apply a slow and then a knockup. Yorick now using his ultimate just to survive the pressure from Vladimir. Alistair's here, but he is a bit late and he doesn't have red buff, so he's not really going to be able to do a huge amount. Soraka's been chased back out of lane. Coming in, she's going to be using the Astral Blessing, so that's the first heal. It increases the magic resist of Graves as well for a few seconds while those little twirling lights are flying around his face. And of course now that'll mitigate some of the magic damage from Kog'Maw, but it's not going to be enough to completely shut him down. It's not going to be enough to really close out the kill. QV Gaming, or UV Gaming now stealing the first dragon, 12.5 minutes, so that'll be up in 6 minutes time, around 18:30. And they're really trying to just pull ahead little bit by little bit, steal those millimeters. The gold gap is now increasing to 2,700 gold. Farm-wise, let's have a look. Kog'Maw 100 to the 100 of Graves. Kill on the top lane turret dive. Didn't even predict that, didn't even see that happening. Really aggressive Vladimir. Vladimir, of course, one of the best champions to turret dive with. You pull the aggro, you deal some damage, and then you just immediately Sanguine Pool. It mitigates all of the damage, or it mitigates all of the attacks from the turret. And more importantly, it still deals damage. So if you throw your Hemoplague and Ignite, you can still keep ticking some damage with your Sanguine Pool. 4-man push in this bottom lane. This is going to be the first turret down of the game. And UV Gaming just really trying to stomp home some dominance here. Really trying to shut these guys out. Great pulverize into the head, but we're going to commit for this fight at the minute. UD has taken a lot of damage. Kenan still has his ultimate available though, but he's deciding not to use it. Wish has been used by Soraka. That was to save Alistair. With Alistair's ultimate up, he's mitigating a lot of damage, but that's now been negated. Janna, fantastic use of the Monsoon, pushes everybody back, and Flash escapes, along with the Howling Gale, knocks everybody up, and absolutely fantastic play there from UV Gaming. They didn't panic. They did not stress once. Not one of them burnt a flash early. Not one of them burnt an ability early. And really great play. Really great coordination in and amongst the UV players. They did, of course, have to use their summoners and their ultimates, but they got the tower. They got out safely, and they didn't lose anyone in the process. So massive props and kudos to the guys. That was well deserved. 5-1 is the kill score at 15 minutes, and Graves is going for the early game item build. He's gone triple Doran's Blade, Berserker's Greaves. That's generally the sign of a player that wants to try and pick up some damage. Does he have collateral damage? Huge collateral damage. Quick Draw has been used. He does have boots too. The slow from Kog'Maw. Just getting out of range. That slow, that void ooze being thrown into Graves' face slows him down and gives Kog'Maw the centimeters he needs to escape. And now Soraka overextending her bounds, moving forward, trying to pick up the kill, possibly. But not really a smart move, not the best way to go about things. Vladimir 2 levels ahead of the Yorick, and just so much damage. Ryze is moving in from behind with it, looking for the gank. There's no Sanguine Pool. It is available. It is on cooldown. Alistair's here as well now, and look at that damage from Transfusion. Forced to flash away, waiting for the cooldown. Transfusion, along with the Tides of Blood, his E-spell, manages to pick up the kill. Hemoplague onto Yorick now. That might be enough. Bounce, Summoner Heal used. Vladimir's gone 1v3, and he's going to come out on top. It's looking like 7 seconds left for his Sanguine Pool. Not going to be enough, sadly. Kenan has moved up, and if Kenan throws this Lightning Shuriken, it's going to be enough to pick a kill. Doesn't know Ryze is there. Does have his ultimate available. Going to commit with its Slicing Maelstrom, so that's one. Taking a huge number of turret hits. Cannot afford to take those turret hits. Is forced back. The Omen and Famine from Yorick, able to give him some life back, able to sustain through some of that damage, and somehow surviving, but a slightly overextended Kenan took too much turret damage. He didn't commit with a Lightning Rush. He didn't use his Electrical Surge necessarily the right time, so it allowed Yorick to escape. But that Vladimir, how is Vladimir built at the minute? Oh, look at that. Huge damage. He's got his Wotel already. He's got Null Magic Mantle, so he's going to be mitigating a lot of the magic damage already. And he's got Sorcerer's Shoes. 2 or 3 of those transfusions is enough to pretty much kill a Yorick at this stage, so it's incredibly terrifying. Now being caught by the Void Ooze. That's a slow from Graves. He's used Buckshot. Collateral damage is available. He's moving in close. If he throws a collateral damage, that's going to be a dead Kog'Maw. Fantastically well played. Is the true damage going to be enough to pick up the kill? Almost takes him out. That's less than 50 hit points, or 120 hit points rather. I overestimated the total number of health available on Graves. There we go, that's why. He's built the extra Doran's Blades is, of course, increasing it. Each one of those little grooves is 100 hit points, if you didn't know that. Vlad on the top lane now. Once again, having a look. He's using the Tides of Blood. Build up the stacks of Tidal Blood because it deals extra damage. In the middle lane, we've now got pressure. Alistair may be being caught out. If Kenan can land a stun, this might be a dead Alistair. Headbutt goes back, but it forces him straight back into range. He managed to use his Indomitable Will, Unbreakable Will. He's going to be able to mitigate the damage, break the crowd control of the stun, and just pretty much walk away relatively safely. And this top lane is just not going well for Yorick. He does have his Merc Treads up. He does have his gold per 5. And it ended up working that way in the previous game. His Olaf was particularly tough in the early stages of the game, but he pulled it back in the team fights, and maybe that's going to be the plan here. I mean, that's what's going to be required. If Vladimir decides to commit, Ignite, Hemoplague, this might be enough for the kill. That looked like a Summoner's spell healed there. Along with the Magic Resist and his ultimate being used, he's able to heal back a lot of that life. Omen of Famine just heals so effectively. Look at that hit points. 50, 60 hit points. Now we're going to focus on this bottom lane here. Janna being able to put a knock up, and it's just pressure everywhere. Non-stop action. 7-3 the kill score. You'd expect it to be more at this stage, if I'm honest. Anime tanking a few turret hits. And just slowing it down, slowing the pace down. UV trying to take control right now. And probably place a couple of wards in and around this jungle. And see if they can catch Graves. Voidoo's lands, that's a slow. Really, really good quick draw into flash, but it's not going to be enough to escape. They've stopped attacking. Almost a fail there. Kog'Maw managing to land the living artillery and the last auto attack necessary to pick up the kill. And now Yorick's in pressure. Tides of Blood plus Transfusion might be enough to pick up the kill. Is Vlad going to go for the dive though? He doesn't have an Ignite, and he doesn't have Hemoplague either, so he's not going to be able to use that ultimate. So he's just going to stay up front, use the Wota, use that Will of the Ancients along with his Tides of Blood. Just farm off the entire wave with pretty much 2 spells. It's absolutely amazing. That's right, I just read in chat, Doran's Blade is giving 80 hit points per stat or per item, as opposed to the 100 which was previously. Alistair trying to steal the dragon, but sadly just mistiming the ability. Some aggression now from Yorick, but he doesn't have enough mana to keep this up. Yorick needs mana to keep the spells, but Rise is coming up now from behind, so let's keep an eye on the cooldown. See what Vlad can do. That's Ignite going down onto Vladimir. Rune Prison's going to come up. Huge burst. Overload into the Spell Flux and Rune Prison. They do kill Vlad. Pick up some bonus gold, or pick up some extra gold from that. Bring the score 9-4, but they lose a turret, and they may lose another turret before this. There's a 4-man in the middle here, and Soraka Graves isn't really going to be able to stop this. 2/3 of the hit points taken away from this turret, and 7,000 gold difference. It's not looking good for MybrowniesLoL. They're falling behind, and they haven't managed to stop the ROP. 20 minutes at the time. My prediction was, if they couldn't win the game by 30 minutes, if they didn't get an early game advantage, my money was on UV Gaming. I do think their champions just scale a little bit better. And sadly, it's looking like that's going to be the case. So I'm keeping a close eye on this in a minute. Shirelia's Reverie pops, rushing in with the speed boost. Knock up into Pulverize. That's a dead Janna, but that's a lot of ultimates used just for the support. They're really trying to cement some dominance. Really trying to cement some kills here. 9-5 the kill score, 6,000 gold difference. It's a slight pullback. But I mean, that was the ultimate from Rise, the ultimate from Graves, along with Shirelia's Reverie. There's a lot of abilities used just for a support kill. Pressure on this middle lane, but they're not committing to the turret. They don't want to take on Udyr or Kennen. Udyr finishing his Spirit Visage, so that's going to increase the sustain from his Turtle stance. And of course give him the attack speed bonus that he really needs. And look at that damage, 20% from a single transfusion. Vlad is going to be really difficult to deal with. Once these team fights stop popping up, it's going to be so hard to pick a target, because if you focus Vlad, Udyr, Cog, and Kennen are just going to tear you apart. If you focus Kennen, you let Vlad just free farm you and transfuse every last drop of blood from your champions. It's really looking difficult right now. Kennen as well as building DPS. You tend to see Kennens go slightly more utility-based, going Rylai's Crystal Scepter with the Will of the Ancients, and of course having double AP. You sort of expect it, you know, finishing another Will of the Ancients, so Vlad and Kennen can stack. And see what he's going back to buy right now. Looking at the gold, 2,000 gold. That's either a death cap, there we go. Kennen opting to go full DPS. He's opting, he wants the damage, he wants the ability to blow people up. Combine Slicing Maelstrom with the Hemoplague of Vladimir and a death cap at 21 minutes. That's huge damage. 196 damage, 196 damage. 196 viewers on stream, guys. Thank you so much for joining. That's Lightning Rush from Kennen. Ooh. If Rise could have got up there with a Rune Prison, if he'd committed maybe a flash Rune Prison, that could have been a dead Kennen, because his whole team was behind him. And with no Lightning Rush, Kennen doesn't have an escape. The headbutt is going to land a Pulverize. Sadly not. Didn't combo the Pulverized headbutt properly. And now they're moving backwards. Vision from Living Artillery is going to let them know exactly where Alistair is. And that's huge damage there now. Unbreakable Wall's going to have to be used by Alistair just to survive. Kennen might go down in and amongst all of this. Collateral damage was used. Here's the Hemoplague now. Graves completely melted and completely obliterated. Now the attention has been turned onto Soraka, and that's Soraka dead. Another transfusion is going to pick up another kill onto Alistair, and what looked like an escape has just turned to a four-man death. Yorick's not going to be able to do anything about this. This might be an inhibitor. I'm at a loss for words. It looked as though my brownies made it away. It looked as though they'd gone away from it, but sadly, the commitment and the pressure from UV pushing up. Now Kenan diving in, slicing Maelstrom. 1 or 2 more attacks from Cogmore. There's the inhibitor. 220 viewers. Guys, thank you so much for joining. I am Quickshot. I am South Africa. There's now the I am South Africa. I am South African. There's the ghost from Yorick being destroyed. I think I'm going to need a small break after this. They're going to take a Nexus turret from this. First Nexus turret out. They're not stopping. UV Gaming are committing to this fight. They know that they're in 5 versus 3. Cogmore is just tearing the Soraka apart. Phantom Dancer as well as a BF sword built. And there's the damage, like I was saying, from Sanguine Pool on Vladimir. He pulls turret aggro and just completely avoids it, dodges it. Says, you shall not shoot me. You shall not hurt me any longer. And Sanguine pulls away. One successful team fight. One little bit of overcommitment from MybrowniesLoL turns into inhibitor double Nexus turret loss. And here comes UV Gaming. They're going to rampage. It looks like they're going to go through to the next one. Stun onto Rise. Phoenix Dance is ticking. He doesn't have the huge damage from Tiger, although only 1 point into target at the minute. Death onto Alistair. Didn't even see Cogmore pick that up, and a huge burst on that Soraka. She even blew her wish in and amongst all of that. Oh no, it wasn't. It was just the Astral Bracing. And this is going to be the Nexus turret. 24-minute victory. UV Gaming really, really showing just what a difference it makes. Just what a difference a coordinated invading team can be. It reminded me a lot of Moscow 5. Looking at how they played, looking at how they controlled the blue buff, looking at how they moved into the blue buff area with 3 champions, 4 champions, 5 champions. It was fantastic, fantastic play, and they really just wanted to stomp home an early game victory. Not giving my Brownies any chance there. Unlucky for my Brownies, and that is their Go4LoL, number 86, exit to the tournament. They made it to the 5th round. Really, congratulations, guys. You showed a fantastic performance in the previous game. And here's the end game scores. So what I'm going to do for the time being is I'm going to organize my next round. I think I'm going to follow UV Gaming for the next round. This will be the 6th round of the tournament. And it would be fantastic if you'd like to stay around, hang out with me. I'm going to take a few minutes break, grab something to drink, jump around a little bit, try and energize myself. I'm getting a bit tongue-tied now after 6.5 hours of casting. And of course, this is my first tournament ever, guys. So thank you for the support. Thank you for the kind words.